Donald Trump spoke in Windham, New Hampshire, for what would turn out to be a truly ridiculous, bonkers, unhinged speech. And I really do struggle to find new terms to describe these speeches because we cover them often and they're always wild. But I cannot express to you enough how it's absolutely getting worse. He's becoming more detached from reality, more unhinged, more panicked about all of his legal troubles. And he's melting down, this time somewhat literally melting. And that is the context for our first clip here, where he said it's really hot, and so that's why he's so sweaty. And he uses the term extremely wet to describe himself, and then says that's what the press is going to describe him as, which, because he said that, that will be the title of this YouTube video, Extremely Wet Trump something.
And by the way, I want to say officially for the press, it's about 110 degrees in this room. Nice job with the air conditioning, whoever, but you know what the press will say? You know what they'll say? Trump didn't look well. He was extremely wet. It's 104 or 5 degrees in this room, but we're okay with it, right?
There we go. Extremely wet indeed. And then we get into the substance, if you want to call it that, where he is clearly desperate as could be, like I said, panicked, and continues to perpetuate nonsense about his legal troubles amid his third indictment and very soon likely fourth, saying this.
They don't want me to speak about a rigged election. They don't want me to speak about it. Whereas I have freedom of speech, First Amendment. How can my corrupt political opponent...
The indictment has nothing to do with his freedom of speech.
Crooked Joe Biden put me on trial during an election campaign that I'm winning by a lot, but forcing me nevertheless to spend time and money away from the campaign trail in order to fight bogus, made-up accusations and charges. That's what they're doing. I'm sorry, I won't be able to go to Iowa today. I won't be able to go to New Hampshire today because I'm sitting in a courtroom on bullshit because his attorney general charged me with something. Terrible.
Wow. Really meaningful discussions going on there at the Trump event. No, these charges aren't bogus. No, these aren't. It's not an example of Biden fabricating things to go after his political opponent. I do think it will be logistically challenging for Trump to deal with all of his different legal troubles while he's trying to run for president. And that's on him. Maybe he shouldn't have committed or possibly committed all those crimes, and then he wouldn't have to deal with the accountability. But as I've said so many times, if you had an argument against the evidence that's being brought forward against you, you would argue against the evidence that's being brought forward against you, not this vague, my political opponent's targeting me and this is all made up. Tell me which part. Tell me which part. And that's what is just absent, completely not present in right-wing media and among defenders of Donald Trump. An actual discussion about how what is laid out here is not in detail, though, again, say it kind of zoomed out vaguely, but in detail, as you walk through the indictment, how these things aren't legitimate batches of evidence that prove violations of the law. And of course, Trump will still have his day in court and due process and all of it, but they won't even engage with the specifics because they know it's a pretty damning set of facts against Donald Trump. Then he lashes out against his fellow presidential candidate, Chris Christie, in the most childish way.
Who's good? No, Christie's, he's eating right now. He can't be bothered. Sir, please do not call him a fat pig. That's very disrespectful. Don't call him. See, I'm trying to be nice. Don't call him a fat pig. You can't do it. You can't do that. So now, because you're not allowed to do that, and therefore we're not going to do it, okay? We want to be very civil, right? So, the latest...
Someone who was and wants to be again the president of the United States, and his argument against someone is that. And obviously he was trying to jokingly say, hey, that guy said it. I didn't say it. That guy said it. But it's so childish, and he actually can engage with the talking points, similar to how he can engage with the actual specifics of the evidence against him. He can't engage with the actual arguments that Chris Christie makes about him. And Chris Christie doesn't just attack Trump's appearance or childish parts of Trump. He actually calls out the dangers of Trump and where he has failed and why he would be a bad leader. And that's what Trump really should be responding to, instead of what he said there. And then this.
So this is all about election interference, but that isn't quite good enough. Crooked Joe now wants the thug prosecutor, this deranged guy, to file a court order taking away my First Amendment rights.
Biden, there is no evidence, is involved in this whatsoever.
So that I can't speak. So listen to this. We don't want you to speak about the case. The case is a ridiculous case. It's a First Amendment case. But we don't.
It's not. Once again, let me say, in the indictment, it explicitly says Trump is not being indicted for things that he's out saying and lies, and he has the right to lie about the election. He has the right to legally challenge the election. He has the right to spread nonsense. It's the potentially unlawful actions he took based on the lies he was telling. He was using these lies to justify an unlawful conspiracy, coordinating with people to try to overthrow our democratic process and install himself president, including a fraudulent slate of electors and pressuring election officials and disenfranchising voters. That is what he's being indicted for, not his freedom of speech. But we have to deal with these talking points that on their face are absurd time and time again. And it would be one thing if a bunch of people said it, but almost everyone didn't buy it. But a bunch of people say it, and then a bunch of people buy it thinking, oh no, Trump's being charged because he questioned the election result. False. My goodness.
I want Trump to speak. So they take away your rights on First Amendment. Now they sue because so now I have one of these lunatic reporters back there saying, sir, would like to talk to you about your case. Or I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to talk about it. Somehow that's not good for votes. Do you agree? When we say I can't talk, I will talk about it. I will. They're not taking away my First Amendment right. So, based on yet another radical left hoax, I've gone through many hoaxes.
So what he's referencing is the fact that prosecutors are seeking a protective order based on the threats that Trump is making constantly out publicly about everyone involved in his possible accountability. You understand why they would want a protective order. Then, again, this is a sign of a truly deranged and unhinged human being who is absolutely desperate. He lashes out now at Fani Willis, the district attorney of Fulton County, who is likely bringing charges against him there very soon for a fourth indictment, and just spreading baseless nonsense about her.
They waited, and I probably have another one. They say there's a young woman, a young racist in Atlanta. She's a racist. And they say that she was after a certain gang, and she ended up having an affair with the head of the gang or a gang member. And this is a person that wants to indict me. She's got a lot of problems, but she wants to indict me to try and run for some other office. What's going on in this country is, and by the way, wants to indict me for a perfect phone call. This was even better than my perfect call with Ukraine. Remember that action? They waited.
So it was better than something that was bad. So it was also bad? I don't know. But that is, again, I've said a bunch of times, if they were actually baseless accusations against Trump, he would be able to address the accusations in some meaningful way and not just target the people making the accusations. When all you can do is try to delegitimize and dehumanize and demonize the person bringing the allegations, bringing the possible legal accountability, that's a sign that you can't actually argue against the allegations themselves. And that's definitely the case with Trump. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are able to be uploaded to the YouTube channel, plus get the bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership, and there's a link in the description.